The merc with the mouse stormed the heavenly gates of Hollywood itself, grabbed it by its cojones, gripped its balls right in his hand, forced Hollywood to call him daddy, blew its fucking brains out all over the wall, considering it his masterpiece, his Picasso, which he framed on the wall, and he brags about so much, and then topped it off by having himself a chimichanga to much delight and avail from fans all around the world. Deadpool is a blockbuster motherfucking hit, and rightfully so, and justifiably so. The movie's fucking hilarious, and they did such a goddamn good job with faithfully adapting all the comics into a movie. I like the games, I like the comics, now I like the movie. So I'm pretty fucking happy. I mean, everything that I had seen up to the point of actually going and watching the movie, I was like, this shit's gonna be great, this shit's gonna be amazing, and sure enough, it was. But we now have an interesting little scenario that's going to play out. We have Hollywood looking at something that is breaking records everywhere because of the timing that this movie came out, because it's a comic book movie, because it's rated R, because it's also a comedy. So it's breaking all these records. Now this is going to be something that green lights a lot more ideas within the comic book industry and Hollywood. I love this because we might be seeing adaptations of more comic book series, much more mature comic book series, whether it's because of the gore and the grotesque and the macabre humor that's in it, and all the fucking body parts being just chopped up and flung all the way, fucking holes being drilled right through somebody's head from a bullet from miles and miles away. Just all the shit that you would say, oh yeah, I don't know if that's gonna get across the ratings board with a PG-13 rating, so we might have to reconsider some things unless you're willing to change. But now they're seeing this, so all the movie companies out there might be thinking to themselves, you know what? We could probably get away with this because it's obviously making money hand over fist. I mean, they already said they're making a Deadpool 2, even before it came out, and they knew that they had something special on their hands. Everybody knew this. I mean, without a doubt, one of the best goddamn marketing campaigns in the entire world, and I have to say Ryan Reynolds should do nothing from here on out except for just be Deadpool. He is Deadpool. We already fucking know that. There's no fucking way that anybody else could even put on the... He is Deadpool. If anybody tries to even argue or debate and say, well, what about shut the fuck up? You're already saying something stupid, you know that. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. How you doing? Yay. But now this has me excited because we might be seeing, I don't know, maybe some R-rated Batman movies. That's something I've been wanting so very much. I mean, okay, The Dark Knight, I'm surprised that wasn't R-rated. Considering some of the shit that they got away with, I mean, they had to do certain cutaways, and a lot of it was subjective, you know, it was implied, and to me, that worked. That worked very well, and they got away with it, but an actual R-rated Batman movie? I mean, that would be amazing. If I got to see something such as Batman the Black Mirror adapted into a movie, I think that would be fantastic. I mean, that's much more grounded by comparison to plenty of his over-the-top, very gimmicky villains. I mean, we're talking about something that's more cerebral, much more evil, something that you could literally imagine showing up as a headline in the news, and, you know, just minus Batman, but the story in general. You know, the commissioner of the police department, his son has gone on this rampaging, murdering spree, but nobody ever thought it, but everybody was kind of worried and second-guessing a lot of shit. It was just very fucked up. Great book, mind you. Everybody should go and read that. And we got to see the Killing Joke, which is one of the best Batman stories that I've ever personally gone to read, and one of the best Joker stories that you could ever read, is getting an animated adaptation and is allowed to have an R rating. And it should. Considering how fucked up that story is, it needs to have an R rating. I've always thought that DC Comics animated movies had pushed the envelope. It made a lot of sense to me to see some of these just in live action form. I would love to see that. I always tell people, I'm like, you know, the movies are really great, but have you seen the animated movies? Have you ever seen Batman Year One? Did you ever see The Dark Knight Returns? Sorry, getting fucking tongue-tied here. You know, did you ever see Batman Beyond Return of the Joker? Did you ever see all these? They're so fucking good. You know, I thought that they were all fantastic, and if you got to see them in a live action form, fuck yeah. But what about The Punisher? The Punisher is a character that I thought would make for a great movie. And say what you will about the other Punisher live-action movies, but none of them truly lived up to the expectations of Punisher fans. But if I can tell you any one thing, read the Punisher Max books, which take violence to some whole new extreme. And it's great. Seeing Frank Castle do what he does best, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Is it gore for the sake of gore? Yeah, it is. But we're talking about a series that it works within that. It's supposed to be dark and gritty and really just fucked up. You know, something where the coroner goes, today's gonna be great. I can't wait to deal with all this. I don't even know how many people are there. All I know is there's a lot of fucking, like, brain shrapnel all over the place. This is great. I want to go home tonight, but I'm not going to. So that would be great to see a Punisher movie done right. Fuck yes. What about Spawn? Spawn got one live action movie, and truthfully, I didn't like it as a kid. Let alone now, rewatching it's even more abysmal now, considering how poorly it's aged. It's bad. But there was talks that they want to do another Spawn comic, and they want it to be much more scary, much more like a horror movie almost. And for an R rating, it's going to make sense. But Spawn's one of those characters real big in the 90s and then just kind of fell off. And you don't see nearly as many people talking about Spawn, but I grew up loving the action figures. I grew up liking the animated series on HBO. I grew up liking the comics. My brother had all of them, so I would read them. And I mean, back then, Image Comics was like the next big thing, and then just kind of floundered after a while. But Spawn would be perfect. This is some shit I could totally get behind. You know, okay, Daredevil, for example. Daredevil, the series on Netflix, which everybody can't wait for season 2. Everybody needs season 2 because they managed to perfect the formula. Why not go and continue this outside of just a basic show series into the silver screen, into the Marvel universe, and bring him there? Would they go and keep the same actors and actresses that they have in that series and put it there and give this a hard R rating? Because again, it would make sense for the Daredevil character to have something that's not pulling punches. And a lot of people feel that this is kind of deserving considering what they had last time. And there's a lot of polarizing opinions about the original Daredevil movie, assuming that you watched the director's cut. Not talking about the one that hit theaters, the actual director's cut, because it is a lot better. It's admittedly a lot better. Is that saying much? Not necessarily, because what we had gotten was still disappointing. I don't give a shit how much of a hardened Daredevil fan you are. You wanted more, you expected more, and your expectations are up this high. But now that we have this series and we see the success of something like Deadpool, could that possibly happen? You know, what about Lobo? Lobo is a series that was over the top for the sake of being over the top, and is a character that they have apparently thought about trying to make a movie adaptation of. And to me, that would be difficult, because Lobo's fucking huge and gigantic and badass, and just, he's kind of like Dante from Devil May Cry series. He's just a snarky, one-liner, shouting motherfucker, going around kicking ass and taking names. One of the best goddamn bounty hunters in the entire world. And you want to go and make an animated movie of him, or well, a live-action movie of him? Well, he worked in animated form in the DC universe with, like, the Justice League Unlimited. He worked fine in that. But with this, a live-action version, it would be hard to pull off, but if you allowed for an R rating to go and expand those horizons, because Lobo needs to swear. Lobo goes around fucking bitches. Lobo is doing a lot of very violent things all throughout the galaxy. So that, again, would be something, it would just make sense. You know, we've had lots of past comic book movies go and pull an R rating out, but they weren't something as big as Deadpool. When you have something like The Watchmen or The Crow, for example, they pull out the R rating and it works. Blade was well known, but it was mainly, I personally knew Blade thanks to Spider-Man. So that's how I got used to him. Did I know him like standalone comic book form? No, I personally didn't. But thanks to Spider-Man, yes I did. And this is something that an R rating can extend on into plenty of the other mainstream comic book franchises that we've seen tossed out there. You know, if they said that they were doing another Wolverine movie or another X-Men movie and they were going to apply an R rating, I wouldn't be all that shocked by it. I mean, a Wolverine movie would make a lot more sense. You give me, like, an actual adaptation of the Old Man Logan story on the silver screen, I would fucking love that. And it would be something that would throw people off big time. And I don't know if they would ever approach some shit like that, but I personally would enjoy it so goddamn much. It would be fucking killer, man. You know, and right now, I've just focused primarily on Marvel and DC. This isn't even talking about, like, Vertigo Comics, which technically, I mean, I guess that's still DC Comics. But, you know, there's all these, like, look at Dark Horse Comics. You know, that would be fucking awesome. Look at IDW, again, that would be fucking awesome. To see a lot of other comics out there be like, this, can we get an adaptation of this now? Because they may have been hesitant before, thinking, man, I don't know about that. I just don't know how we would go and get this onto a movie without it being over the top violent. It would just lose everything that made it something. Like, if you tried taking the Crossed comics, which they're so fucking violent that you become desensitized to the violence that's happening in it, and you're just kind of used to it. It's like somebody just walking along, you know, and just breathing, walking and talking. Now people getting their faces shredded off, getting melted and shit. You know, fucking Napalm Death, great band too. But the actual death due to napalm, like, that's Crossed. Just people getting stabbed, decapitated, and the whole fucking 9 yards. That shit works. You know, we got to see The Walking Dead. Walking Dead, well, granted, we don't have a movie adaptation of it, but if they had ever thought about doing something like that, considering, again, this was all based off of comics, and they pulled this out. You know, if anything, if you think about it, The Walking Dead did set a bar, and a lot of people don't think about that, but The Walking Dead was based off a comic book series. They kept that tone, they kept the mature rating, they kept all the gore and the violence and shit, and adapted it. Fine, that shit worked. When you're trying to go and transition that shit, it's kind of difficult. Daredevil did the same exact thing. The first season of Arrow did a good job of that, but then afterwards they're like, we don't want to be nearly as violent, he's not going to kill people. Go back to killing people. Fuck it. Just go and kill people. It sets you further apart. Like, okay, Oliver Queen and Bruce Wayne, sure, they have a lot of similarities, but Batman doesn't kill. Green Arrow just should. Like, fuck it, just let him kill. I preferred it a lot more, and to me, it made a lot sense. I like that a lot more. Is it extremely final when it comes to, like, certain villains? Yeah, but you don't have to kill every single one of the villains. But all the fucking jobbers, all the fucking goddamn stupid-ass jabronis, the nameless thugs that run up, nah, right through the fucking eyes. Kill that motherfucker and his shit. So will we see more TV shows that are going to be R-rated because of things like The Walking Dead and because of Deadpool? Fuck yeah, I think so. Will we see more movies that are R-rated from the comic book world? I sure as fuck hope so, and I think that it's very likely. I think this might have gone and sent a message to all of Hollywood and to the entire comic book industry that this shit does work when done right. And that's important to note. When it's done right. Not just, we're gonna make it R-rated for the sake of being R-rated. No. Fucking no. You need to do this shit right and do it well. So, hopefully we end up seeing that. For you out there, what comic book characters, what comic book series would you like to see made into a movie with an R rating attached to it? You know, I've seen a lot of comic book series that would work this way. I just gave some examples that are the tip of the iceberg, but there are plenty more to be mentioned, and I don't feel like making this video 80 fucking hours long just to go and name drop for the sake of name dropping, but this is a discussion worth having and something that I think will certainly be happening in the months and years to come, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. Either way, watch Deadpool, and as always, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers game the fuck on, and read comics, or die!